Insanity's a pretty good player. I think that his main strength is how aggressive he is, but I think that's also his main weakness. He very often does really well and sort of styles on his opponents, but that also comes back to bite him. And sometimes he can do consistent mistakes and trying to play aggressive when he really should just play safe. I think that's something that I'm going to exploit.
Hello and welcome back for Game 2. Certainly didn't seem like he needed to do too much there in the mid lane. It was just having a great old time farming on Corki.
I'm just not surprised that a man named Insanity is a polarizing player that has pop-off games or run-it-down games. Well, unfortunately for Game 1, a Blaze Olive was the only one popping off, really asserting the dominance over the Veigar. Look at that KDA.
My goodness.
The stats, the damage share. The damage share, 48.5%. There's 5 players on this team. Sorry, not 5 teams.
I mean,
although there will be.
I think Uzi, pretty commonly hits 28 or 27% on his teams, and that guy does a lot of damage and takes a lot of gold. So it's only one game, that is a very impressive number and a very good Corki game there out of a Blaze Olive. On the other side, though, he's kind of the person we expected to do the best in this matchup. But Grig, first time top lane, at least as far as I can remember, on a professional stage, and he looked okay.
He was fine.
He was fine.
He plays meta picks, as we have already seen, and it's not Poppy or a Karma lose lane. It's play Aatrox, and you actually do get to participate with your team, especially when you had the Taric ultimate as well. But most of all, it had nothing to do with laning phase for him. It was, can I teleport and affect the rest of the map when they need me to, for fighting around the Baron, for fighting around the Dragon. So he did just that. So exactly what we expected out of him, being able to sacrifice his lane and work with the rest of the team. Kind of that double jungle mine helping TSM out.
And again, that is the TSM Academy system. They're very map-oriented, very objective-heavy, and they really just kind of slowly but surely gain leads. And Grig has been in that system when this team won a championship. So impressive, but understandable how quickly he was able to integrate into the team despite playing an off role. On the other side, though, Team Liquid have selected blue side for this game, and every time we get side selection, expect the teams to pick blue. All 5 games yesterday were won by the blue side. I don't expect teams to be straying from that side too often.
I mean, one of the benefits of blue side is the jungle leash. That's actually a pretty significant factor. Not all the junglers have gotten to start around the red side, but when you do, not only do you get a leash from your bottom lane more often than not, you get to go to the doubles right away. You clear that camp first, and you're able to reset it, which increases the golden experience drastically on the second spawn. So it does help your junglers out quite a bit that way, but also having the first pick seem really valuable. And speaking of, look at that. You're banning out the guy with 1 professional top lane game under his belt.
Look at him. He's smiling his head off. He's like, yeah, all right. I drew an Aatrox ban in my first top lane game. Feels pretty good. TSM Academy, though, are going to be relegated to more of the standard bans on the red side. Karma and maybe something like Yuumi, or at least the expectations. But we'll see what TSM Academy do want to take out. TL, though, will ban Sona. They're not wanting to give that option over to TSM Academy either. And there is the second expected support ban there, Yuumi, taken off the board by TSM.
I have to imagine that Sejuani will be a much bigger priority here. It's so much easier to execute than the Jarvan, and it would fit Odd Orange a little bit better in my opinion. But you also have to consider the Corki. I think that was just a giant pain for Team Liquid. You really just can't shake off the fact that he almost had 50% damage share. And it is going to be the clinch for the Sejuani. Ban away the Jarvan, see if you can lock that away. But you always have Sylas, and I think Spica will be more than happy to take that matchup in exchange for maybe taking a Corki in the first rotation.
Yeah, I'm also curious if TSM hold on to their cannon ban here at all, or if they feel like they have to address something else here now that they've swapped sides in the draft. But I think keeping Jenkins away from his well-known pick could be good, given that you have a very fresh top laner, but they'll ban Xayah instead, deciding that Shoyu is the bigger threat. And with Sejuani up, TL going to try and block that pick by first picking the Sylas.
Wow, and Sylas is a matchup that doesn't really have any picks that go amazing against him, because he always has your ultimate, right? You take somebody that skirmishes like a Kha'Zix, somehow he steals your ultimate and still finds a way to beat you. So it's all about having better synergy with your team, and Sejuani is usually that champion. So I think they're more than happy to take this one away, and that just puts a lot more pressure on Odd Orange than was necessary. But you do have to consider that it can be a lane Silas. It did get changed. It can go into top and mid, and Odd Orange could always resort to a Trundle here.
Yep, there's Corki though again for TSM Academy to join the Sejuani. No need for them to really change the game plan around too much, you have to think. But curious to see where the priority goes for the rest of TL Academy.
I mean, Corki's just such a beast right now, and frankly, the best pick I've seen against it was yesterday from Yasui. The Kaisa into Corki has been something that he's been piloting for a while in the Academy. It does pretty well. Transitions fantastically into the mid and late game too, so this is a pick that I would love to see from Matt. The Bard, he's one of the best Bards we have. It would make it so much easier for this team to make plays, for him to be the sole engager, to have agency over what plays happen and what doesn't. So I really, really hope that we get to see this from Matt, because no.
That's the opposite of what
Dang
you
it.
wanted. Bard, Thresh, Rakan,
Yeah.
these are all champions Matt is known for. None of them. Silas, Azir, Tom Kench, the
Great
first three
against
picks there for
Corki too,
TLA.
right? You can actually interrupt his Valkyrie in the middle of your ultimate.
Well, Braum is up, and Braum may very well be taken here for Treats, who decided that didn't have too much fun getting moved down a few picks. That will, of course, mean that Grig, once again, is sacrificing himself in draft priority. Certainly curious to see what his third and fourth strings look like if he eats a few more bands.
It's crazy that he's eating up bans. We don't even know what he plays. No one knows what he plays. So dropping more bans against him just seems preposterous. I know that banning Kennen makes sense for them because that is Jenkins' best top laner, and he could bully away a matchup into oblivion. So you get rid of these power picks, but for Team Liquid to start prioritizing things against the what? We don't even know he plays this. We have no context to what he drafts or picks, and it's not like he was amazing in the laning phase.
I guess we'll see, but that is, in fact, a Renekton ban on the TL Academy side. TSM going to line up their fifth and final ban of this draft. And it will be Varus wanting to keep that away from Shoyu.
And no more super safe engage from the bottom lane for Shoryu. So this puts even more pressure on Team Liquid to try to find an engage, because they needed Varus before, but now if they don't have another member that can do so, you're hopefully looking at Team Liquid to potentially flop on more engages, which is what TSM really wants to do.
I like that ban though from TL. I was actually expecting them to just take the Ezreal out of this phase if it wasn't banned, but Tactical decides, you know what, I know what to do here.
Yeah.
Just kind of going down the flowchart of ADs, does take Sivir. This could leave something like Kaisa up for TLA. Certainly a pick that's been picking up a little bit more in recent weeks.
It would just be Kaisa in the bottom lane and a blind top laner for Jenkins here. I wonder what he thinks would do well against Grig. I mean, you can always take... I really just don't think you need to give that much credit to Grig
Just
right
take
now.
GP
He
again.
needs to show it. Play whatever you think works. Yeah, the Gangplank. You can even take a Poppy if you'd really like.
I'm trying to think what fits their comp to. Skarner is not the pick I was thinking of, but that may mean it's Silas in the lane. I've seen both Azir and Silas in solo lanes.
Yeah, okay.
So they are going to mix it up a little here and take Skarner as their last pick.
So that makes it a lot easier for Odd Orange to find and engage. These are the kind of champions that we were recommending for Panda yesterday. It doesn't matter what happens early, you still find a way to be useful.
Oh.
And Spica is going.
Wait, is
sorry,
this-
that's Grig. Wait,
Okay, we'll see. But
it could be both. Both are viable, but I think Sejuani's a bit better in the top lane here.
I mean, this was something that we almost joked about when we learned that the swap was happening, but I don't know if Sejuani's a legitimate solo lane pick. It has seen some play.
She's tanky, she has wave clear, she's actually surprisingly hard to gank, and has pretty great gank assist. And when you take the Olaf, I mean, Olaf on the flip side, which looks to be what the top laner would be, he is the same way. He's tanky, he's got pressure, he's got wave clear, and he's got a lot of all-in potential. Hopefully the lower that both these champions get, the more they'll skirmish, but this is going to be one for the ages, where we've got the top lane former jungler playing a jungler in the top lane.
I mean, again, a champion that he certainly knows the ins and outs of, although not necessarily in this role. I mean, I like it. I think, again, Sejuani's like potentially a flex because Grig just has so many games on the champion. So if nothing else, you can trust that the hundreds and hundreds of games he's played on the champion gives him enough to be able to pilot it even in a very different position.
It makes it hard for Odd Orange to find another target. You're never going to be ulting the Olaf as Skarner, so he basically gets a free pass on the Skarner attack. So you don't really want to be ulting the Sejuani, you don't want to be ulting the Olaf, and then you have to go for all the other members that are going to be a bit farther away between Corki and Sivir. So there is a lot of value in the pick here, but Olaf, just like we've seen in the jungle, it's the same in the top lane. Your execution matters more than anything else here.
And wasn't maybe tested as much as it could have been in the last matchup. We'll see how Grig does on Olaf this go-round. But TSM Academy is still up a game here in this best-of-5 en route back to the finals. Team Liquid Academy looking to put an end to that run early. So they'll try and get on the scoreboard here in game number 2. And Battle Spire has begun here in the river. Grig gonna chuck that first axe. Ward will not be cleared, but Speaker at least knows it's there. And looks like they are going for a deep bit of vision here. Grig at least gonna check the brush. And we'll see if he commits a ward in just a moment. Or maybe even if they just hard commit to some sort of split here on the map. Although we now know that Speaker is making his way back, recalling, and Grig is also going to do the same. And it does look like Speaker put the ward down, now going to go back to base.
You got to respect the level 1 Olaf power, especially when he comes with Speaker right behind him. Hits a few axes, auto. Sejuani's there. Suddenly you're stunned, and you're dead.
Certainly so, as Jenkins on the Silas, kind of a different pick from him. Let's see how that goes. However, we're going to go back down to Riv, who caught up with Doto to see how Team Liquid have adapted after game 1.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I did just get a chance to speak with Coach Doto of Team Liquid Academy, and he said the first game didn't feel too great for the team, but they are confident. It was a warm-up game as they kind of see it going in as they were picking against TSM, seeing how TSM is playing out the game as well. Looking at nerves being a factor is a few of the mistakes for game 1, which will now be kind of worked out here coming into game 2, and they aren't really worked up by Grig. I asked them if they felt like they had to change anything up. They said they're not worried about it. They're going to play their game, and they hope to show better here in the rest of the series.
Thank you, Riv. Always great to hear the insight there. It makes sense. Again, it's a best of 5. You can't let one game get to you. Do still have to make sure that the rest of the games see changes, though. It's one thing for the coach to say, hey, change things up. It's another for your team to implement those changes throughout the series.
I mean, these are fantastic changes. You've got a lot of members that can make plays. You're Odd Orange with the engage, and never forget about Jenkins. It is solo lane Silas, but he can always steal Sejuani's ultimate and still find a way to engage, or even Sivir too. So this should give Team Liquid a lot more power when it comes to picking the right fight, as opposed to the last game where it really didn't look that way.
Well, I don't know what we've missed, but Grig is a wave ahead of Jenkins all of a sudden.
Yeah, no, Olaf is a complete lane dominant champion. There's almost no matchup that can really beat Olaf. This is the complete dream. If no jungler touches this lane, Olaf should pretty much win almost every single matchup. True damage, Conqueror, the spammability and chase down potential of Axe is huge. So it's understandable that this is a pick that Grig would be able to win a lane with. It's just a matter of, can he actually translate it to anything useful once you get past the early stage?
So one of the many changes to Silas recently, his shield not only works when you actually land the stun half of your E, but it only blocks magic damage now. So of course Olaf can pretty easily get through that with a Q. We'll see how the rest of the lane goes out, but so far so good there for Grig, who had a CS lead at one point. I expect Odd Orange to maybe pay a bit more attention to that lane, and also looking different here in the mid lane as well as Insanity able to get the push on nice and early with Azir.
Yeah, he's going to be a lot more comfortable with this matchup. Tried the Veigar experiment, game 1, didn't work out as planned. Realized that the Corki is really just an absolute menace, and there are reasons why people continue to play Azir into it and don't really experiment with other things, because if they fail, it fails big time.
Now, Crumbs, I have actually a very critically important question for you.
Go ahead.
As someone that has played on LCS stage before. When you're playing the same champion in a series, do you change skins? Because the Blaze Olive has changed Corki skins.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if I like it. Really?
Yeah. New game, new you.
Even when you won the last game, you're not superstitious that you need the power of the skin?
Even if you won, you can always, I mean, the attitude of the players is always, I could have played better, right? There's never a perfect game. The perfect game is really just the pie in the sky of how well you should play, but it can never be actually attained. So you change it up and say, you know what, I'm going to crush it next time around, because I'm sure that a Blaze Olive can look back and think, I could have lasted one more CS, or I could have found another plate, or I could have hit more rockets. There's always something to do to improve, and so the skin is another way to really refresh your mind.
Are there any champions where you always play with the same skin?
Yes, Gragas.
Gragas?
Yes, Scuba Gragas.
You're a Scuba man. Greg actually getting his fight on here. Good axe onto Jenkins. Wins the back end of that trade as they both pop their Corrupting Potion charges. Looks like Inspiration and Conqueror for both. So imagine there's some time warping potentially happening there. And
really good time from Spica to be here when Olaf is crashing the wave to make sure that he has to respect the possibility of a tower dive and just doesn't want to risk it, so he uses the teleport. And if he doesn't do that, I think Grig can afford to not use his TP as well. Let's see what he does here. He can teleport and make it back, but I think it'd be better if he just walks on in, saves it, starts building up that TP advantage, and maybe make a play for the Mountain Dragon that is already up on the map.
Yep, does have a phage and will hold on to the TP. He's going to walk back to the top lane as Spica also got a chance to steal away the Wolf Camp. Oh, TP is though.
Halfway through, decides otherwise, uses the teleport instead.
I must continue my lane kingdom.
Well, he's got his jungler on his side, so it is an opportunity to do so. So it's not the end of the world. And it could also be that TSM doesn't want to go for an early dragon right now. They'd rather just keep the laners doing their thing.
Yeah, certainly a pretty different look, especially in mid lane, as Insanity is able to get a lot more pressure pushing in. Jenkins also stole the Ragnarok there from Grig. Does make Sejuani's time ganking quite a bit harder, but Grig continuing to be very accurate with these axes. And it's kind of funny, like, this is what you want as a jungler. You want your solo laners to have pressure so you can invade. Grig, you know, he's been jungler for a while. Starting to push things in there, and Speak is actually the one benefiting by being able to steal away all this stuff from the left side.
But it's a two-sided coin because the Skarner and Azir have complete reign of the bottom side of the map, which lets Shoryu and Matt pressure up this lane. It lets mid lane push up, and it yields a first dragon to Team Liquid. So there is a cost to Spica and Grig playing this duo game of making sure that Jenkins doesn't have control over the wave and is always pushed up. It's in the loss of this first Mountain Dragon. So a really good timing out of him, but TSM might think otherwise and try to get a fight. I think Odd Orange probably just get devoured over the wall and he'll be fine.
Really nice patience there from Odd Orange. Oh, somebody had to flash.
Yeah.
It was Odd Orange. But he at least gets out safely and very patiently there waiting on the smite to make sure the Drake does not get stolen. So once again, it is the first Drake and a Mountain Drake over to Team Liquid Academy.
You have to pick one.
Makes sense that the support's going to save the AD. It's like, you're on your own, jungler.
I mean,
I'm saving Shoryu.
I want to defend the other side of the coin, where if you keep Skarner with Flash, he can actually make a lot better. And because you have Tahm Kench with the Kai'Sa, you can actually play the lanes significantly safer. But hey, I totally get why your support would want to keep the AD happy. You got to lane with the guy the rest of the game. He's not going to forgive you for that one.
Yeah, instinctively, that's kind of who you're naturally inclined to save. I might agree with you that Skarner's Flash valuable enough for it to work the other way around. Still, very unlikely that it's going to matter, I think, given the pace of these games. So, again, we're 8 minutes through. First Drake over to TLA, but no kills just yet. Pressure is mounting a little bit, at least in the bot lane for TSM Academy. The BF Sword on the Sivir helping her push a bit more aggressively, but Odd Orange has been down here once or twice to kind of keep them honest. And this may be a full setup here with Matt and the Abyssal Void with the Skarner ulting. In fact, they're going to go on to Shoryu instead. They get the Ignite down, they get the Brawn passive out. Killer Instinct down, Matt with a Flash Devour, going to save him, barely able to keep Shoryu alive, but that bait almost cost Shoryu the first blood.
That was a beautiful Glacial Fissure out of Treats, actually predicting that Shoryu was going to continue to move up, and it's going to get some pressure into the bottom, and Shoryu does not have Flash. They got a lot of summoners out of that one. It's going to yield some plates too, so TSM's bottom lane really playing with super well.
Yeah, and Treats is... I feel like every playoff set for Treats, he just kind of steps up. He's made some great plays on the Taric last game. He's continuing to play aggressive here on the Braum. supports often are slept on because, you know, their role can sometimes not be that flashy. But Treats is making every little bit work out, and that kill conversion was another example of continuing good play.
If the AD is the lead singer of the band, the support is the DJ. He's the mixer. He's really the one that makes the whole thing sound good. Because without him, you'd just be having yelling and instruments out of tune, but he's really the mastermind behind making it all come together. And oftentimes, it's a role that goes unnoticed because of how good it is. It's kind of also like a UX designer. A good UX designer is one that you've never heard of.
You've just described how I feel about our production team. I'm the one that gets all the credit, and they're the ones doing all the work. All right. Bottom side here. So that's a bit of pressure back and forth. Decent lead there for Tactical. Blaze Olive also up a little bit, not much. It's actually Grig that's built the gargantuan CS lead this game. He's flipped it. He's 25 ahead as Odd Orange looking to take this Rift Herald. Not what TSM Academy want with all the pressure they have topside. Odd Orange trying to sneak this away, but will now be found out by Speaker and the Scryer's Bloom. And that's an instant Abyssal Voyage over from Team Liquid, who are determined to take this objective.
Ooh, this is going to hurt Team Liquid badly, though. A fight is going to break out, and Sivir is teleporting.
Grig has to get out. Though forced to burn the Ragnarok, but he's actually turning it back around onto Jenkins. Starts the fight nicely. Rift Herald low. Who's going to grab the smite onto it? Ulti out is good. That's actually the Kai'Sa that gets the Herald, but TSM is going to fight their way out of this one. Killer Instinct over Olaf. It's Grig that grabs the first blood, and now Blaze Olive going to try and chase them down as the rest of TSM. They'll grab the first blood, and they'll make sure TLA do not get the Herald.
It is just never the right time to go for Herald if you don't have your team really ready to back you up. No prio in the lanes, and now Jenkins is going to get hellfire on top of him.
Does have
Porky
flash?
really threatens him. More plates going over to the top lane. And I really want to appreciate what Tactical just did right there, because TSM had an option of giving up the Herald and letting Tactical finish away the bottom turret and get plates in. But instead, he chooses to teleport, join the rest of the team, stop the Herald, and as a result, they just get even more gold, but not on him. Very unselfish out of him. Selfless is the word, and the payoff is even greater.
Yeah, bunch of plates there for TSM as 3 to 4 continue to push to split that up. As we watch this again, it looks like Grig's in trouble, but at the end of the day, they bought just enough time to win this fight.
Team Liquid is fighting on 2 different fronts. Trying to engage onto Grig is a terrible idea. Olaf is never going to get caught like that. And so the rest of the team is just getting focus fire by 2 carries, a Braum to CC you, and a Sejuani to soak up all the deep. So this was just Team Liquid overstepping in the Rift Herald, and it's all because they felt like they needed to get something as they were slowly losing plates bottom, losing pressure in top. They felt like they had to do something, and as a result, they lose more than they asked for.
Sure, you're going to try and clear this wall, but maybe a bad idea with Speaker and Treats here. First stun needs to land. Glacial Fissure is nice, but now Matt's going to be the target. Could be a 2-for-1 deal. Shoyu going to get permafrosted, but he does flash out of the way to safety. Matt, though, not so lucky. And now a TP coming in as well. Speaker does get ulti by Odd Orange, but Jenkins in Insanity down here. There's the rest of the squad there for TSM as they are going to fight their way out of here. Blaze Olive already kills Insanity. Speaker into stasis. He goes to continue the run of play. And TSM just make it look so easy. A flash in from Grig. He's hungry for blood as he tries to chase down the enemy jungler.
And you just don't mess with TSM thinking that the rest of the team isn't going to back them up. They've already shown that they're willing to give their lives for the rest of the team. So the teleports are right on through. Grig had one. A Blaze Olive commits it. And they're now going to be able to secure an Ocean Dragon, a few more plates in the bottom lane, and this game is getting blown right out of the water.
And we talked about, you know, how TSM, very deliberate team, very methodical, starting to pick up the pace in this series. Game 2, a very different, maybe not a different gold graph, but the timings of where they're landing going to be that much faster in this one. 5-0 up in kills, up in turrets, equal in dragons, and up about 6,000 gold. As this was their last play to make. Sure, you just doesn't need to be there.
Well, it's also that Matt was going for a play at the same time, so they both split up. Matt's on the bottom side, he's going for a ward, so 2 players going for different plays, and then Odd Orange uses his ultimate to go on the Skarner. That's the Sejuani, just so tanky. So, just a poor series of events for Team Liquid, and then it's just all too easy for a ginormous man advantage there out of TSM.
Yeah, last little boomerang, not quite enough. Grig thought he could grab it, but does trade flashes there with Odd Orange. and also got the top tower as well. So TSM now up 2 turrets to 0.
I mean, think about the playmaking potential out of Team Liquid now. You've just used Starner Flash once to get over the Dragon Wall for a Mountain Dragon that is pretty much useless when you're from behind, and then the second time to try to escape the Olaf. So the playmaking potential of Team Liquid continues to dwindle as they lose these fights. Instead of prioritizing how do we get ahead, they're trying to make sure that they don't fall too far behind. And it's that kind of attitude that is really contrasted by the do you play to win or do you play to not lose?
Right now, it does feel like Team Liquid are treading water as TSM continue to apply pressure. Have about 1,000 gold up just from plates, as you could see there from before, but 7,000 gold ahead. Tactical pushing in the mid lane, getting some damage done. Ablaze Olive now level 11 with the Triforce completed and the Carl almost ticked down. Will go ahead and pick up blue buff for himself, and again, just all this space for TSM to apply pressure. And we've seen that this team, when they get ahead, they know exactly how to close out these games.
And they are now applying pressure in all 3 lanes, really looking for that next Mountain Dragon after a while. That Mountain Dragon is going to allow them to go for a 20-minute Baron, as this giant lead is more than enough. And they're thinking about a dive here.
Ulti on a mat. Insanity gonna maybe be the target. Odd Orange gonna pull one in. That's a kill over to Insanity as Shoryu joins the fight with Killer Instinct. TSM finally make a mistake.
If Team Liquid crawls back in this game, it will be at the hands of Odd Orange. The Stinger does not forgive. It will continue to pick you off when you least expect it if you refuse to pay the tax. And Spica is never gonna pay it. He's just gonna find a way to extend it by buying the stone plates.
Yep, he's already got the 2 pieces there. But watch this one again. I mean, good idea from TSM to want to siege here, but a dive was maybe a bit too ambitious.
And Spica oversteps. Odd Orange finds him, not even having to use the flash, really just waltzed right on in there. And a few more of those, and Team Liquid's going to start feeling confident enough to go for their own plays, especially once Odd Orange gets his flash back. And if they can find a way to get a pick before this dragon, you get 2 Mountain Dragons, you're still in this game. There's a 6,000 gold lead, but you can always sneak a dragon, sneak a Baron, and all it's going to continue to take is 1 pick after another. It's going to be a process of multiple steps, but as long as they're in it for the long haul, they'll be able to stay calm, cool, and collected.
Well, minute 20 till that objective is up. We'll see how the setup looks for both sides. Seeing some items being completed though on both sides now, so TLA certainly staying in the game, but still down a very significant amount of gold, hovering around 7,000 still. Having mid outer though, always nice, and Azir is very good at keeping that turret healthy. So I understand why TSM's protracted efforts have been to try and knock down this turret, but we'll see this again. In fact, this looks awfully similar to what we just watched.
Let's see if Odd Orange can find another pull. The cooldown is not quite up yet, but his flash is about to be. And with Dragon in 30 seconds, this is prime time to get a quick little fight, and the winner will reap the reward of the Dragon.
I think the correct call this time for TSM to just threaten to use your ultimates. Zone them off the turret, take it down, and then set up for the next objective in 20 seconds.
That's it's very reminiscent of playing champions like Zac, where you don't actually have to go in, just charge your slingshot in their face, and they will back off. It's the threat of the unused skill that is deadliest.
Which is weird, because Lee Sin always takes the Q.
Yeah, well, he's blind. He doesn't really know what he's doing.
All right, we'll Drake up now for TSM, and they'll be on the objective ASAP. And looks like Team Liquid Academy too busy catching waves to get anything done. So TSM's continued map dominance here will provide them advantages. Odd Orange looking for the stun onto Grig. He's got Rag and Flash. Away he goes.
So that's what they trade for Dragon, right? You get Grig's ultimate, which I don't know if you can tell from the tone of my voice is not a lot. It's actually a bad trade, because I would have loved to see this time be used to maybe use Matt's ultimate to pour Odd Orange behind Sivir, get an ultimate out of her, right? She doesn't have a Q. I said, there it is, finally!
Ulti out of Tactical. Nice call there from Crumbs, but not enough to get to Sivir.
But it doesn't make sense when you use it now, because if you use it now, the team is already ready to respond. They just finished the objective. If you use it when they're doing dragon, you force them to try to collapse against you. You split them up. You need to use these abilities in timing windows that put your opponents in a tough position to make two choices. And one is a wrong choice, and one is a right choice. And that's how you create mistakes out of your opponent.
Well, TSM can continue their relatively deliberate pace here. TL still trying to play catch up. Matt gonna TP back to mid lane. But with the spell walk, happy to rotate through some spells. I believe Oliver's back in the side lane. Seems to be his new favorite place here on Corki. Can't blame him. Lots of fun for him to grab. It's Shoyu and Grig doing battle. First axe gonna land. Here comes Odd Orange. No, oh no, it's actually back for Grig. Olaf, what kind of champion are you? Killer Instinct out. Ragnarok popped, and looks like Stark's gonna be enough to keep him alive as Shoyu almost dies to that final axe.
I mean, he could have actually 1v2'd them if he really wanted to, seeing how squishy that is. It's going to prompt TSM to go for this. There is no Tom Kent to port the Skarner in, so this should be TSM's Baron.
Grig can TP in as well if he wants, but not sure he's going to need to make it. Ulti going to get stolen. Baron over to TSM. A Speaker finds the smite. Now it's just trying to get out of there as Glacial Fissure and the Cedro will combine to provide enough safety for TSM to sneak that Baron away.
And it's a good call out of TSM, knowing that the Skarner commits to making a play bottom lane post 20 minutes against a team with Mountain Dragon. It's a no-brainer out of them. They get the objective, and this is one where Odd Orange is going to be scratching his head, going for the Olaf in the bottom lane, which in his defense, he's kind of trying to defend Shoryu, trying to make sure that he doesn't die to the 1v1 of Olaf, but sometimes you just gotta put the team above the individual.
Yeah, Grig's like, I kind of like this getting gold thing.
Yeah.
Maybe this will be a longer stay than I expected. Well, certainly great pressure applied there to give TSM the Baron, and they make the correct call. Very decisive. Up now, 9,000 gold. We're looking to put it up to that 10k mark pretty quickly. The first Baron in the last game did a ton of damage, managing to get at least one in hit for themselves. We'll see if TSM can do one better here in the second game, or if TLA have a slightly faster response.
So we're looking at TSM going for a 1-3-1 here. Corki in the mid lane, 3 in the bottom lane, get some vision around the red-hand side, and then just slowly but surely don't get caught, let the waves do all the work. So TSM not looking for a fight right now, just trying to establish wave control first. And this is once again the time where Team Liquid needs to be looking for a play. Again, Corki does not have QSS. Matt and Odd Orange need to be teaming up, finding plays together. But they are split up, and so it's just Odd Orange in the face of a Blaze Off. He's not going to fall for this.
And you can see Insanity actually taking a pretty significant chunk of damage. Here's Grig versus Jenkins, though. Grig gonna get that first Q down and win that trade, and ulti stolen, but Grig holds on to his as Ragnaroks will stand up against each other. But Grig is just applying a ton of pressure. He's actually gonna grab this tower for himself. Forces Jenkins to come back and try and defend this lane. TSM Academy just battering down turrets at this point.
It's the Olaf show. I mean, if anybody's ever played a top lane game where you go up against Olaf and you're maybe on an off roll, you realize there's just no winning against this champion. 1v1, he's brutal, and Matt does burn the QSS out of this one.
Gets the cleanse. Odd Orange again trying to line it up. See if they do want to commit the ulti there, but again, TL just consistently getting pressured here by TSM. Doesn't even really matter if Odd Orange finds that one pick. Grig is going to let these Baroned up minions do the rest of the work, as the Blaze Olive working on the tier 2 in mid as well.
I really think they were just deterred from the first time it failed, because it's so easy. You pop Predator, Matt devours you teleport behind the Corki, he Valkyries away, but you have Predator, so you chase him or you flash if you need to. They got to get creative if they want to get back in this game.
Instead, they're just going to get caught in rotation as Concussive Blows proccing. Glacial Fissure is good, and Speaker good enough to grab the last hit as Blaze Olive continuing his pressure here in mid will take down the tower, and now the rest of TSM will converge. 5 seconds left on the Baron. Gonna try and break through the front door. Front door looking a little flimsy. Ulti's gonna get popped. There's Olaf charging in behind the Siva with the ulti, procking away. Exhaust down in onto Grig. Shoryu trying to shoot down the Olaf, but pretty tanky at this stage of the game.
They've let Insanity do a lot of work, but unfortunately he just does not have a lot of items right now. Just the Nashor's Tooth, really, not even the completed Morello. So one item, that Azir's DPS is kind of negligible when you've got the beefcakes of Sejuani and Ola.
Yeah, total amount of damage Insanity. Or total amount of auto attacks, I guess, with the soldiers. Very high from Insanity in that last little exchange, but not enough to get a kill. TSM will back off now that the Baron has worn off and take the Mountain Direct for themselves. And Blaze Olive will give up on his quest for the enemy red buff because he doesn't want to die. In fact, I think at this point he's thinking, if I can't die this series, I'm going to be feeling pretty good.
I think he's just thinking, is this
I don't wanna be the
really
guy.
worth it, right? I don't want to be that
guy.
guy. I don't want to be that guy. Exactly, right? Skarner is back. He has Flash, and you know that you've just been able to crack the game. You have a giant gold lead. Is red buff going to win you the game? No, you don't really need the red buff, so it's not worth it. You back off, you let him have it, and you move on to end the game.
And TSM will continue to play through. Minute 15 till Baron number 2 is up. So I have to think that that is the next objective on the minds. Again, Team Liquid Academy just kind of letting TSM dictate the game to them. TSM, I feel like, haven't really needed to change from the style of play they've become so proficient at. It does make me wonder, you know, what angles of attack can Team Liquid find? That's a good start for Jenkins, but they're going to jump in. Speaker instantly going to start the fight. Quick for Insanity, pops the stone plate. Jenkins low, but he pops the watch. Orange getting shot down. The ulti is out, but they just can't get any kills. TSM, too powerful. Flash by a Blaze Olive onto Shore. You're going to give him the kill, and it's only Insanity left as Trees looks to find the finishing blow. A final Q completes the ace as TSM Academy will storm through mid and finish off yet another Nexus.
Hits them with the door to really seal the deal here. TSM with a commanding lead. Only one kill, no turrets for Team Liquid Academy. A very dominating game for this team. Both carries and even the support in top lane did not die.
Starting to feel the momentum in the series for TSM Academy. They'll finish off the Nexus eventually. I think hands off keyboard action there at the end, but I mean, Team Liquid Academy were all dead. They're 2-0 up in the series now. And from how slow and methodical the last game was, it wasn't that they went away from that in this game, but you can see that they're starting to build confidence. Crazy aggressive dive in the mid lane, but they're just like, we're 10k ahead, this is gonna work.
Well, I mean, when you're that far ahead, it doesn't.
Don't do that at home.
You need to do it. You need to do that at home. You need to master it. You need to get good at going for those dives when you have those massive gold leads.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, you're never going to be able to actually end game.
Yes, the caveat is when you have those gold leads. When you don't, maybe try something else. But that was just a dominating second game there for TSM.
Yeah, Greg finding his own place in the top lane. The Renekton ban really did not phase him. What a surprise. You missed the target on his champion pool because he doesn't have a match history. So that is my criticism for Team Liquid Academy right now. But on the flip side, I think that just TSM is really on the same page. Every play they were making, they were all in it together, whether it was pressure in the top side and bottom play safe, whether it was tactical teleporting into the Rift Herald to make sure that the team is assisted. They were every second as 5.
Well, we'll see how TSM look, because we'll get a replay now of the Rift Herald fight and the bot lane where TSM were able to put on the pressure.
This is that fight that I'm talking about where tactical teleports in to the control ward to help the rest of the team. And you see that Grig is just buying time, buy some cooldowns. They even bought Azir's mobility spell. And the second that happens, there is just no way that Team Liquid is going to be able to win. The Skarner is not tanky at this stage in the game. And look at that final rocket taking down the Skarner. This is another big play out of TSM. Again, playing as 5. The play starts with a 3-on-2, but quickly Skarner ends up joining, and that's not going to be the end of the story because TSM now is going to commit 2 members to their own teleport play and not just 1. Oh, actually, it was 3. My bad. Oh my.
Yeah, everyone joins the party, and TL thinking, hey, where'd my invite go?
They were there, right? They TP'd in. They're just not VIP guests of that one.
You get in there, all the snacks are eaten, there's nothing to drink. Terrible time.
All the shrimp are warm.
All right, well, you can see TSM setting up for the next game. We'll take a look now at the final fight of the game. The TSM Academy were able to finish things off in style.
Yeah, and Jenkins has the Sejuani ultimate, but Sejuani on Speaker does a really nice job. And while he is safe and devoured, that stops so much of the DPS. It's not like you are completely invulnerable and still participating, it takes you out of the fight. So Insanity not able to dish out DPS, but let's be real, at that point, it doesn't matter if he had another 10 seconds of us here. We saw one time where he had 10 seconds and the damage just was not there. Not for, actually, if you look with a magnifying glass, I believe there is 1 blue pixel in the first 3 minutes.
Yep, 91 gold, and that was about all TL were able to see. 16k ahead by the end of that game. A very swift victory there for TSM Academy. And you said it, I mean, the level of coordination this team is showing, how together they look, which is, again, even more impressive with Grig rejoining the lineup. Even if they were playing him instead, you know, it's hard to say how much time, if he was playing jungle, that he would have had to practice with this team, let alone having to play an off role.
Well, I really think it's helping the team, and that you just have no idea what to expect from this guy. He busts out the Olaf. He's got a blank slate in the top lane, and this is a pick that might get some more traction, as it's always been known to be a complete lane bully, but always struggling to translate that into an actual objective lead. And they did so just fine, because Spica did sacrifice a bit of his bottom lane to help Grig get ahead. And when the two beefcakes are out, it's very easy to play the team fights when you have a double carry composition.
And again, I think if nothing else, the experience that Grig has with this team as a player is certainly showing in this TSM Academy. It's just a ton of confidence, a ton of coordination, and we didn't actually see that much of this from this team, even late into the season. TSM Academy, the reason they're here playing without a bye is because their season was surprisingly shaky.
Yeah, and I think a big part of it was the lack of Grig. Grig had been on the team when they won last time, so they've been trying to really work with Spica, and this is going to be his first best of series, which Grig would come in very handy in educating him and bringing him up to speed of what it is like to play a best of series. And even though right now it has been a pretty lopsided series, the reverse sweep is always very real. You have to stay focused until the very end.
But again, I think when you invert what happens, bringing a veteran in, it's unfortunately the opposite for Team Liquid Academy, having to bring a pretty fresh player in. Yes, Odd Orange does have experience, but having to change so much of how you play and how the team is structured and how you communicate in such a short amount of time has been tough for Team Liquid Academy. And they were in a similar spot where they were looking like a top 3, top 4 team and slipped their way into playoffs, but clearly coming up against a very practiced TSM.
Yeah, it really just looks like the synergy between Mad and Odd Orange aren't there. They're like the same kind of magnet, just repelling each other constantly, as opposed to being on the same page, going for the same plays, and thinking about the game in the same way. That's one of the big things. You need to really have every member thinking about what objectives matter most and what kind of plays you need to be going for at what time. And if you just haven't spent enough time playing together, it's going to be quite some time until you're actually thinking about the game in the same way and then playing it out.
Well, we'll potentially have 3 more shots as TSM Academy, with their last-minute roster swap, a 1 win away from sweeping Team Liquid Academy. Let's see if they can punch their tickets to the semifinals after the break. Ooh, that's actually the Kai'Sa that gets the Herald, but TSM is going to fight their way out of this one. Killer Instinct over Olaf. It's Grig that grabs the first blood. There's the rest of the squad there for TSM as they are going to fight their way out of here. Blaze Olive already kills Insanity. Speaker into stasis. He goes.
I'm on Kai'Sa. 0-0. We can.
Okay.
Yeah, and then kill the tower, kill the tower.
I got the tower.
You go chase him, brother.